President Trump spoke with Russian President Vladimir Putin Tuesday. The phone call lasted about 90 minutes, according to the White House. The two leaders both said they agreed to begin negotiations immediately to achieve a fuller ceasefire. They also discussed efforts to strengthen the relationship between the U.S. and Russia. President Trump wrote about the call on Truth Social, saying, quote, "My phone conversation today with President Putin of Russia was a very good and productive one. We agreed to an immediate ceasefire on all energy and infrastructure, with an understanding that we will be working quickly to have a complete ceasefire and ultimately an end to this very horrible war between Russia and Ukraine." Russia launched its full-scale invasion of Ukraine more than 3 years ago. CBS News senior White House and political correspondent Ed O'Keefe joins us. So, Ed, what were your takeaways from the readouts of the call, and what happens next?
Well, while both sides called it a successful call and that they plan to talk again, the White House did not get what it was seeking: Russian agreement to join a 30-day ceasefire that Ukraine signed off on about a week ago. Instead, the Russian leader said that he has ordered his military commanders not to target any Ukrainian energy or infrastructure locations. Unclear what the definition of infrastructure is, but by not hitting power plants, nuclear power plants, whatever else that have been targeted in the past, that is at least one step the Russians are taking. He also, the Russian leader, apparently asked that if there is to be a ceasefire, then all foreign military and intelligence assistance to Ukraine be ceased during that time. That's a non-starter for the Ukrainians, obviously, but also many of the European allies that have been involved in assisting Ukraine over the last 3 years, arguing that if all military and intelligence assistance were to stop, it would allow Russia to unfairly reload and prepare for any resumption of hostilities, should that come, while Ukraine would just essentially sit there not getting the weapons and the intelligence it's been receiving. But the White House says there are going to be immediate talks in the Middle East to reach an eventual ceasefire and then a final peace agreement. Unclear who exactly is going to those peace talks, where they're being held, what countries would be invited. Either way, here at the White House, at least so far, seen as a modest success because, A, the call happened, they agreed to keep talking, and there was at least that limited ceasefire agreed to.
And I want to also ask about Chief Justice John Roberts. President Trump wrote on Truth Social, the federal judge who temporarily blocked the recent deportations to El Salvador via this wartime law should be impeached. Justice Roberts released a statement saying for more than 2 centuries it's been established impeachment is not an appropriate response to disagreement concerning a judicial decision. The normal appellate review process exists for that purpose. How significant is that response?
He has responded in the past to public statements the president has made disparaging federal judges, perhaps most memorably when the president was disparaging an Obama judge, someone who had been appointed by the former president. The Chief Justice stepped in and said, look, we're not red and blue judges. We're not Republican or Democratic judges. We're all trying to interpret and issue rulings impartially and professionally. So it's no surprise to see him speak up again about his long simmering concerns about how public rhetoric is putting the lives of judges and their families and their staff at risk. What's notable is that this statement came just hours after the president had suggested that the chief of the U.S. District Court here in Washington, who'd ruled in the case regarding those 3 flights that went to El Salvador over the weekend, should be impeached. They have a history because he was involved to some extent with the January 6 cases, so the president already doesn't like the guy. But by suggesting he should be impeached, the Chief Justice felt compelled to step in, as the Supreme Court said, in response to inquiries that it had been receiving from reporters. And so the timing is notable because it shows the Chief Justice is clearly paying close attention, is willing to call out someone who's going to have business before the High Court yet again in the coming months and years regarding the policy changes he's making, and reinforcing the concern that he has and judges across the system, federal, state, and local, have about potential violence towards public officials.
Ed O'Keefe, thank you as always.